Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Superbox today. I hope you're all well, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the good old like and subscribe buttons. Well, let's crack on with the video. So today's video, as the title suggests, a tender subject. In particular, not this particular tender, but model railway locos that are more up-to-date manufactured to date tenders. If you're like me, you grew up with the old Hornby locos that had their tender as the source of the motor. Very rarely was the motor in the lead loco, it was always in the tender. Tender driven models is what I'm on about. Very simple, you'd lift off the tender, and when you wasn't using the loco, back in the box, and to make the thing work you had to just simply connect it with a pin underneath, make sure that it was still touching all the track parts with the wheels, and hey presto, she was good to go. But now Hornby have decided to bring out this really fiddly, very finely tuned wire and harness clip, which I'll show you underneath, which I have done a little bit of a remedy job on, and I want to just share this with you today. And the purpose of this video, before I get started guys, is just what are your thoughts on this? Do you share the same views as me? Do you think what I've done is helpful? On just really what your thoughts are on the whole subject of connection between loco and tender these days in terms of Hornby and Bachmann products, more so Hornby. So I'll show you what I've done. I gave this loco a little bit of a makeover recently, and I'll show you why. If you look in that shot there, I'll bring the camera in a little bit better. As you can see, from left to right, on the left hand side there's a plug with some wires coming out of it, just after the first lead tender wheel, and where the drawbar connects with the pin. That connects with a bunch of wires, it goes across into the locomotive, it goes up through the loco chassis to the motor and the associated wiring with that motor. 2 wires, 1 pair for each side, and that basically gives the pickup connection between the tender and the locomotive. That's what makes it work. There has to be that guaranteed connection physically. So by doing that, that basically provides connection for the tender pickups as well as the loco pickups, and the whole thing is guaranteed very good sound electrical contact on the track. It also serves as a connection purpose for the DCC chip as well. Anyway, enough of that, because the DCC chip is actually in here in the tender. That's not what I'm going to talk to you about today, or not what I'm on about. What I'm on about is the pain in the backside of having to keep unplugging this very delicate clip that's got these wires attached. I'll bring the camera right in. There you go. As you can see, that plastic clip with those 4 wires protruding from the pins inside are very delicate. The wire is incredibly thin, very flimsy, and it's a very delicate piece of equipment. You can get these out with a special tool that Hornby want to charge you, I think £6, £5.75, whatever, a couple of pence shy of £6, to officially, there's basically a pair of tweezers with a pair of inward notches on the side that you can grab the plug from either side and yank it out gently, carefully. I prefer to use a very small screwdriver and just one side carefully lever one side up, and it comes out very simply. But here's the thing guys, my whole purpose and rant today is, I want to know if you share my views, is that why the heck have Hornby put these wires between the loco and the tender when they know full well these things are going to get broken and damaged if you happen to want to disconnect the tender and the loco for the purpose of putting it back in the box or storage. Unless you did what I've done on my model, what I did, I had to do a little bit of surgery on this area here, because originally the tender and the loco were separate. As mentioned, you had to unplug the model, and once it was on the track you had to plug it in beforehand and connect it physically, loco to tender, with that plug and wire system. But when it was in the box, they were stored separately, loco here, tender up there. There was a big gap, so I had to cut a little bit of polystyrene away from this area so I could actually physically store the loco permanently connected. And what I've done here I know you can't see it when it's running on the layout, but underneath I've put a little bit of heat shrink on that tender pin, just to basically stop that drawbar from coming off now, so it's permanently connected, to stop it obviously coming adrift when you pick it up. So you've got to pick it up obviously with two hands, and it will obviously come as one item. It won't come apart, is what I'm trying to say. It can come apart, because if I take the screw out here, it simply separates the loco physically from the tender. Then if I want to unplug that wire ever to do some work on the loco with that tender being there, that's the only way I'm going to do it. But I've done it in such a way that it's permanently connected in the box, and it's permanently connected as a loco and tender item, because I'm getting so sick and tired of this little plug, the wires on it getting ripped out or broken, which is exactly what happened the other day. And the wire and connection plug you see before me, actually I installed yesterday. So this piece of wiring and cabling plug is brand new. It came from Hampshire Models yesterday in the post finally, and I fitted that up. A little bit fiddly, but it's basically there, and I don't want to risk breaking it ever again. So what I've done to save all matters, I've just basically permanently connected the loco with the plug permanently connected up there, and as mentioned, a little bit of heat shrink on the pin to stop that pin and bar coming adrift when you pick it up. So it's permanently connected, but I just want to know what you guys think about that. Is that an easy option for you? Do you like this system of connection between the loco and the thing? I think in a way it's good electrically, because don't get me wrong, this is a really good runner on the track. It doesn't stall, there's no dead spots. It really is a good model pickup wise. But this plug system is very, very delicate. That it's not very easy to remove. It's got to be done very carefully, and I've heard stories about these coming adrift before. And what I did with my model here a while ago, one of the wires came loose from inside the pins, inside that socket on the left hand side. It's a very, very fine scale fiddly job. I did manage to have one shot attempt at putting the wire back in there and soldering it, which I'd managed to do luckily. But then the other day I just wanted to plug it in or unplug it for some reason, and hey presto, the wires came adrift. So I looked inside the loco and it needed a complete new job. I did try and fix it myself, but it wasn't very successful, and I thought, you know what, I bet I can get this online as a spares parts, which is, I think it's part number is X6133, I believe, as a spares part. So you can get these. They're a little bit fiddly to do, but straightforward. But I think now I'm a bit happier, because at least now I know my loco is permanently connected, everything works, and it's not going to have the issue of that wire breaking again. However, I do think that if these wires are going to be put on these models, they also need to make sure the wire is tucked inside the actual loco a bit more, because when I first got this, there was too much wire hanging underneath, which could catch on underneath accessories on your layout, like the travelling post office set with the TPO ramp, level crossings, anything really could get caught on. So always make sure it's tucked out the way there. I've done the best to do I can with this, so it's tucked out the way. But other than that, I think it's a pretty good connection now, so it's there. It's not going nowhere, which I'm quite happy with. And obviously, when you pick it up, two hands. A little bit of information on this particular loco for the future as well. There's another reason why I want to do a video about this loco. Is not only that I've repaired the tender and drawbar connection, but also I'm going to do a little bit of light to medium weathering on this loco in the future with some Humbrol weathering powders that I have ordered, and they're on the way soon. I was very impressed by Humbrol as a company. They did on their YouTube channel, they showcased their weathering powders on I think it was a B1, Hornby B1, and it was basically looking at how you can improve a model with a bit of light weathering, and I liked what I saw. Very easy, and it's so much easier than getting the airbrush out with the compressor, and every time you do a layer of paint, you've got to strip the airbrush gun and clean it and do all these sorts of things, and it's very time consuming and a little bit messy. I like the idea of just applying something straight out the pot, and that's exactly what you do. And I'm going to have a go at that, and I'm not going to overly weather it, but I'm going to make it really have a lot of character, because in Steam days, let's face it, I mean, like recently, if anyone's ever seen on YouTube recently on our railway community, Blue Peter, not the TV program, but the loco that's just been overhauled and it's now out on the main line. It looks all nice and shiny and sparkly and blue. But in the days of Steam, you never got a loco looking like that. It was always very dirty when it had been out on the road for a day or two. It had been, out there, and it had been covered in goodness knows what, from working hard up and down. So they weren't always shiny machines. There was always a little bit of character to it. And being as my layout officially set in the sort of mid-50s to 1960s, I wanted to capture that on my models and bring them a little bit to life with some weathering. So watch this space, and you will see Merlin, which is the nameless loco, in a whole different light. Anyway, that's the subject of my video today, or was a tender subject. What do you guys think? Do you prefer the old tender connection with the pin that you just simply connected and that was it? Or what do you think of these new plug and play systems that are underneath, as it's just shown there? What are your thoughts? Do you find them annoying? Do you find them fiddly? Again, drop a comment below, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Take care, and God bless. Bye-bye.